Understanding initiative in chess is a key factor to becoming a better positional player. In this video, I will show you 3 rules to handle those situations with ease. So let's dive into it. We will have a look at an example, and while going through, I will present you 3 rules and we will see them in action, how one player who gains the initiative can successfully exploit that. So the game we are going to have a look at started with d4, d5, c4, e6, the queen's gambit, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, and now black decided to go for a very sharp line, take on c4. Now white pushed the pawn to e4, trying to regain the pawn on c4 and having a strong center. However, black is now able to play a line with bishop to b4, where white is basically forced to sacrifice a pawn. And that's where we start, because that's our topic, initiative. And usually you don't get the initiative for free in chess. So sometimes you need to give up a pawn, sometimes you need to give up even 2 pawns, sometimes even a piece. And for all those material downsides, you get a lot of activity, a lot of more pieces into the game, which is kind of the dynamic advantage I'm talking about. So in this position, white took on c4 anyway, and that's still some theoretical line, and black took the pawn. And at this point, we want to really start the discussion how to keep the initiative going, how to play with the initiative, and how to finally beat the opponent. And we start with our first rule. Activate all your pieces as quickly as possible. This is so important because if you have the initiative and you don't act fast, then it will just vanish. It's the kind of temporary advantage which is gone if you don't hurry. So it's very different from a material advantage, which is staying there on the board, and you still have this extra pawn at 10 moves later. But when you're 2 moves ahead in development, 10 moves later, it will be gone. So in this position, the first important move is to develop as quickly as possible, and thus castling is very strong here. So now white has developed 4 pieces, which is bishop, knight, knight, and king, and black only has 2. Moreover, we come to second principle, which is create a threat with every move. That really speeds up the development, and white actually did both things at the same time. Not only did white activate his pieces as quickly as possible with castle, he also created a threat, trying to take the knight on e4 as the c3 knight is no longer pinned. So now black needs to react, and that's a key factor when you create threats. Your opponent needs to react, and thus he cannot easily try to catch up in development. For example, black is not able to castle here because he would drop the knight. So black needs to spend some more time. And here black has 2 good moves, which is knight takes c3, which happened in the game, or just drop the knight back to f6, trying to limit the amount he's back in development. However, in the game there happened knight c3 and pawn takes c3. Again, we see, okay, we don't develop something, but again, we stick to rule number 2. We create a threat. So black is still not able to castle here because the bishop is hit. Now the theoretical line goes bishop to e7, again, trying to just defend and saying, okay, 1 pawn is enough. I really should not be too greedy here. But still, white has some initiative going after that, a lead in development, and I actually had the game myself there. And yeah, white still has good compensation. However, in this video, we're gonna have a look at this game, which continued with bishop to c3. Black is already 2 pawns up, and it does not seem so clear what white is actually getting. We have no chance to trap the bishop. It will always return to a5, and queen a4 would always be answered by c6. So the key here is we cannot win immediately, so we need to count on the initiative long term, and we try to develop the initiative further with the two principles which we have learned, which is add new attackers, bring more pieces, and create threats on every move. So white at this point played rook to b1, which is a good move. White brings one more piece into the game, which is the rook, and also creates two tiny threats, which is bishop a3, which would limit black from castling, and also rook to b3, activating the rook with a tempo even further. So quite logically castled here, because otherwise bishop a3 would have stopped it. But now white brings the rook into the game with a threat, gaining more time. The bishop has no choice and needs to go to a5. And now this is maybe the most difficult moment in the game, because it seems like we almost have developed all our pieces, and it's the question like where to bring them now. And yeah, as a general rule, you sometimes need to spot a weakness to know where to attack, where to bring more pieces to. And the thing which is very weak here is the black king, because we have no knight guarding the king. It's just 3 pawns, and we might get a huge attack here, and we will see how. So first white went knight to e5, which is a good move. It activates the knight even further and also brings the queen into the game, which was not doing anything yet. So black tries to defend by knight to d7, trying to bring a defender and just catch up in development. But white continues again with number 1, bring more pieces. Queen to h5. Now the queen has joined the attack, and yeah, soon there will be more threats. Now already a bit, the pawns on f7 and h7 are threatened. If there is knight f6, the queen will just draw back, and maybe the knight could be pinned after that. However, in the game, black decided to take the knight on e5, which is already a big mistake. Black was probably hoping for pawn takes and then get some counterplay, but actually white has something stronger here. And that's where we come to point number 3. Third rule, which is search for the knockout. And this is so important, because once you really have developed all your pieces and you have this big lead in development, you need to capitalize on it, because otherwise this would also be gone. So at one point, and that's of course the difficulty to spot exactly this point where you can really capitalize on your advantage, you need to make it count and look for tactics, look for attacking possibilities which really win material. And the very strong move here is rook to h3. White does not need to recapture the knight on e5, but instead can go for the checkmate. And black really has a hard time preventing that. So there are some tries which we will check. We will first have a look at one possible defense, which is knight to f3, trying to disturb the white attack, as this knight would be gone on e5 anyway. And in this position, it's very important to understand initiative. We want to have all the pieces into the game, principle 1, and thus we take with the pawn. Even though it creates double pawns, the rook stays in the attack, and this is way more powerful than slowing down the attack, as rook f3 would no longer threaten checkmate, and black might get some chances to survive, even though the position would be probably lost as well. So remember this. Bringing all the pieces into the attack can also be applied in this way, that once the pieces are in the attack, they don't want to be distracted by giving back a pawn or giving back a piece. So pawn takes here, and now the game is basically over in a similar manner as in the main game. So after rook h3, we will check the main defense which was tried, which is pawn to h6. But now white again applies this rule number 3, looking for the knockout to capitalize on his advantage which can really not become any bigger. Yeah, there are all the attackers in the game, no defenders. So how should it become better? So now we need to capitalize on it. Of course, this would not be such a bad move either, but much stronger is to go for the attack with bishop to h6, opening up the king, going for a mating attack. And if pawn takes on h6, then we go queen to h6, and mate in a few moves will follow, as mate on h7 and h8 is threatened. Of course, when you sacrifice, calculation is always required. For example, after g6, it is crucial that we have queen takes e5, regaining the knight, and a lot of threats still on the board. Black cannot defend against everything. For example, f6, defending the mate on g7. Queen e4 would win tons of material as the rook would drop, or the pawn on g6 with a mate. So white capitalizes on the advantage here, not by checkmating, but by winning a lot of material. What else could he try? He could also try queen to d4, trying not to accept the sacrifice, but instead get some central counterplay. But again, white, yeah, has a winning attack after bishop e3, hitting the queen and threatening mate. And again, free, it should not distract our rook. As we know, principle one, we should bring all the pieces into the attack or keep them in the attack and not get distracted. So pawn takes f3 and black is completely lost. So I hope I could give you some insights with those 3 principles to play with the initiative. Try to apply them, try to be confident about it, going for positions where you need to sacrifice a pawn but get a lot in return, as you now know how to handle those situations. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.